obviously we've come here as championship leaders. What is the plan for this weekend?
We'll get the results what are needed for this garage, really. Yeah, no, I think top 3 would be nice. Try not to crash. And if we get a good qualifying, we'll be there in the race, definitely. So qualifying is important, I think.
Right, FP1 finished. Only got 11 laps to do, like 3 short runs almost, because the first run we had some chatter. We've had that before here. We're in 6th place. We know with the new tyre we'd go faster, and we're not perfect on setup yet by any stretch. So we need to get the bike turning a little bit better through the faster, through the sort of Craner's complex, and we need to get rid of some of the chatter in the rear. So some of that will be done on engine brake. We actually changed some engine brake halfway through the session. It did help it, but some of it's going to be mechanical as well. So we're going to have the clutch out, check that, and then we'll look at the data and work out exactly where we need to go with engine brake versus slip percentages. It's a fun afternoon for me. And then I'll work a bit on the geometry of the bike when we've talked through the whole lap debrief in a bit. So not a bad first session, but we could always be better. So it's only 5 minutes or so before our second session, before FP2, and it is just gone 3 in the afternoon. So we've had a good few hours and we've needed the time because we have changed the clutch basket. Because basically on these Hondas, the clutch basket wears and the inner and the outer wear against each other, and they end up with a load of play in a basket, which causes a load of chatter. So we've changed the clutch basket and the clutch pack. We've changed the gearing to give us a little bit more shove off the corners and to run the wheelbase a little bit shorter. I've gone slightly softer on the fork springs because looking at the data we could get away with going slightly softer and it might give a bit more feel. Obviously we've got new tyres in it, we've got loads of petrol in it, and I've altered the engine brake map so we've got a bigger range to try during the session. So there have been quite a lot of little changes. Luckily though we've not changed the rider because we think he's probably okay. Pete, where are you going watching? Spotting.
Spotting's the word, not watching. It's not just a holiday, you know. Now we were a bit weak in the final sector, but that could have been down to the clutch. So I'm going to, and the mechanic. I'm going to watch at Melbourne and probably Goddard's and the chicane again. We've had a good study of the chicane, what we did earlier. So yeah, we're just going to do that area really, because that's our weakest point. Everywhere else we're top 3. So that's the just point we've got to work on. So we'll see.
Halfway through FP2, and he's up to 5th overall on the combined sessions from this morning and this afternoon. Now this morning, halfway through the session, people were chucking rear tyres in because free practice 1, you can do what you want. Free practice 2, you can't. It's the way the tyre allocation works. FP2, basically you're stuck on the tyre you start the session on. And he got up to 5th and he's not 0.7 off from this morning, so the bike's obviously working better and he's obviously a bit happier. And he was still pushing on because he was still trying to get sectors, and he slipped off at the S's. But the commentators pointed out, he's up, he's moved the bike out of the way, he's fine. He's just generated as a little work by the look of it. So, one of them things, he's pushing, he's trying. Did a 1:29.662, so half a second under the old lap record, so it's going all right. Hopefully everything's easy enough to fix.
Came through the foggy S's on the left, sort of went down. You can see on here where I did actually pick it up on my knee, or the bike decided to come back up, bobbled a bit, picked it up, and then it sent me towards the gravel, still probably doing 16 mile an hour or something, then hit the gravel, tang slapped a bit and fell off.
To be fair to him, he literally rode into the gravel and fell over, so a little bit of gravel rash on the fairing and stuff, a little bit on the exhaust, but really, for crashing a bike, that is the kind of crash you want. He's done almost bugger all. If it wasn't the BSB rules, you'd have picked it up and carried on. You've got a present, Chris. Saturday morning at Donington Park, and all the crash repair stuff was really quite simple yesterday. So the bike was finished last night, it's been re-scrutineered this morning, and then I've been mulling over the changes I want to make with the bike. So Franco would like a little bit more front confidence. And obviously the bike's not terrible, but as always, the faster you go, the more feel you want. Sometimes I just like to sort of sit down and ponder through stuff we've done in the past and stuff we didn't at Spain and stuff we've done earlier in the year and see what's relevant. And I've decided I'm going to change the air gap in the forks and the height of the forks in the bike. So basically I'm going to raise the front of the bike a couple of millimetres, which will be nearer the setting we had at Silverstone. And I'm going to change the air gap in them so that the Bitubo's like halfway between what we've got now and what the Öhlins was. And they're not mega changes because we're going straight to quali, but they're hopefully enough detail to give him a bit more feel and get a bit more the chassis working how he wants it. And there is of course only one way to find out, and that's to actually change it. It'd be nice to change it in a free practice session, but we don't have another of those. We have one qualifying session today, and that's all we've got all day, and it is 15 minutes. So we need to be ready. There is of course still space for more sponsors. If you would like to be advertised on the bike, that would be lovely. There's a link in the description to do a deal with Matt. This isn't a weird fetish club. This is like sort of oil stuff to help relieve arm pump, which seemed to actually work quite well yesterday. So yeah, he's nearly done with that.
Get this on your hands, it does knock off.
Right, we have had our team briefing, and the brief is that the rider needs to go as fast as he can because it's qualifying. There is a bit more to it than that. Basically, the tyres. The tyre wear here is fairly bad, but the tyres, if we look at tyres, they're at their peak. They still do a really good lap time on lap 5 and 6. So what we don't want to do is go out, try and go banzai the first 2 laps, because it's the first laps of the day, and do anything wrong. We've seen people do that in like junior stock today, and what that does is get you a very bad grid position. So the plan is to go out, first 2-3 laps are like banker laps, and just build the pace up, and Franco is mega at building the pace up lap after lap. And really the ideal time to be trying for your fastest lap time is lap 4, 5 and 6.
To be honest, it were Foggy's S's really that we were really working on yesterday, trying to use the curb a little bit more than. We filmed Seeley, we filmed other riders using what lines they were doing, so yeah, it's all part of the day.
It's not all just about setting the bike up then?
No, Dave, there's a lot more to it. You're trying to get a lot of credit here, but actually the rider and the rider coach has quite a lot of input.
Did a bit of skipping, bit of stretching, did a bit on the air bike, so had my coffee, so we're ready to go.
Right, he is out. He was the first man out of pit lane. He likes clear track, so we got him out right at the front of the session. He likes it like that. And now we wait. We have 13 minutes and 41 seconds left to wait for the end of the session. Hopefully we'll be somewhere near. So we finished that session in P8, but actually makes us P7 in real life because Olsen's quickest, but he won't be on the grid, he'll be back in the grid. So 7th, so the start of row 3, which is actually all right. We can do something from there. We did a 1:29.9, which is actually slightly slower than yesterday. And the leaders, Olsen was a 1:28.9. So we have got a little bit of setup to look at, I think. But yeah, that's all right. Start of row 3 is okay, and he'll go faster in the race because he always does. The boys will do cleaning the brakes and deglazing the pads and bits like that. And then we've had a short debrief with Franco, and he's still lacking a little bit of front confidence. So we will come up with a plan for warm-up tomorrow. It's Saturday evening, and we've turned the bike around. We've made some changes. We've gone back to the Öhlins forks and set up a bit more like we ran at Silverstone, because there was no issue with front confidence there, and so we've gone back to, you know, a bit of a different base setting. We're confident that Franco will go half a second or so faster in the race because he always does, and you know, just a bit more confidence in the bike, and we think we can fight for the podium again.
Yeah, same thing really. When you're in a race, you're following people. It's always a lot easier. So if I can get a good start, hopefully be in the top 5, make some passes, podium again. That's what we want.
That is always the target now, is to try and win races, and if we can't do that, podium, and if we can't, strong points.
Spot on.
Right, that'll do then. And most importantly tonight, we have had apple pie and custard, which Pete brought along. And we like custard. An hour before our session goes on track, it is time to do the first heat cycle on our bike. And while I'm here, I shall clear the lap timer off from yesterday. So let's see what the lap timer says. So a 1 minute 30 lap, maximum speed on the bike, and that's basically wheel speed, so it's a little bit extended over what you actually do. Temperatures always stay about the same, average speeds, and the fuel consumption thing, even though we work it out, is always useful to see it backed up on there. And it didn't really do that much RPM. Right, we'll run that up so the thermostat's well open and the bike's nice and hot, and it'll have 3 heat cycles before the session. But that's done. Tyre warmers are on. We have to run scrub tyres for warm-up because we're not allocated enough to have new tyres. So that tyre in the back is actually from FP2 when he went through the gravel, because it's actually done the least laps. And we've got the front on that we used in qualifying. So we have tyres, we have suspension setup changes, the bikes are warming up. We are looking good to go. Right, 5 minutes before the session, and one of the things from Donington Park was a little bit of arm pump. And so part of that is Franco's been training a lot recently, and his arms have got quite a lot bigger. Your old suit was made to measure, and then you've trained a lot. Yeah. And obviously, between meetings, there's not been time to get them modded really, so we've had to pod out.
2 years now, and it was good up until sort of Donington Park, the place where you really push on. You go on a bit, just put on a bit of muscle, but the girls love it, so. So I'm going to go out this morning, try and stay nice and relaxed. Bed mat, lovely new suit in. Thanks to Matt for cashing out on that.
So that was a short morning warm-up, especially because there was a red flag first lappers. I think Joe Sheldon-Shaw launched the bike into the scenery, so they red flagged it and restarted it. So we didn't get many laps. We only really got sort of 3 proper laps in. And because we wanted him to go out and do a bit of passing practice, the lap times weren't brilliant and the tyre was basically useless in the back anyway. But anyway, we have some data for the setup, and so I'm going to make a couple of little changes, just little tweaks to some preloads to get the travel averages a little bit better, but we're not too far off with the bike. So Steve is taking fuel out of it so we can measure exactly what comes out, what we've used, calculate it for the race over all the data from the weekend and put it all back in with the correct amount. Pete is putting the scrub from qualifying in, and that will be the rolling to the grid tyre, and then we'll have another tyre change on the grid. The only slight issue is the rider's gone to try and get his arm sorted out because he might have maybe pinched a muscle or pulled a tendon or something, and so his arm's hurting a bit. So minor details, eh, Pete?
Yeah. Fucking these young uns nowadays.
Soft,
boy, mate, softies. We'd have rode one arm. We'd have chopped her arm off. We'd have carried on riding. What's up with him?
Couple of aspirin, carry on.
Couple of aspirins. We don't even have them really. Just had a
half a pint,
and off you went again. Jesus. Well, anyway, hopefully he'll man up a bit.
Yeah. He'll always man up a bit in a race. We know that.
Yeah, he will. Otherwise, he's got this coming to him.
The irony of having a garage is it's that noisy because of the racetrack that we've closed the door so that we can then watch the race on the TV. Is this important research for the boy, spotting overtaking spots?
Yes, we need to get him dialed in. He's ready. He's going to get pumped up after this race because he knows that he can do as good as them boys.
Right, so we are on the grid, P7. So we've got tyres on warmers. That's the new rear that's going to be going in the bike when Franco reappears on the grid in about a minute's time. We have a front warmer actually plugged in and warming up already that we're just rearranging. Steve is technically brolly girl this weekend because Claire's had to go to a christening of all things. So if she made it back, she would be here in a dress, but we've got Steve instead, so I'm sure that's some sort of upgrade. Maybe. Not. But we are ready for the arrival of our rider. Yeah, so the line is off the start, good start, drive straight down there, onto the back wheel in foot, wide line into the first corner, take some front wheels off people, and we'll be job sorted. And we're on telly being on telly, which is interesting. So you can all wave at Whit. Hello, Whit. Right, it's time for me and Matt to get off the grid then, and Pete and the star of the show to do their thing. Time to go. Right, we'll be watching them from the TV. It feels odd to be watching our race on the TV from our pit box. Not had that before, so it's a novelty. Normally we crowd into the Honda garage and it feels full and you're bustling with people, and this is, you know, there's a few of us in here, but it's relatively quiet. I don't know whether I prefer the distraction of lots of people, but here at least we're ready. If we have a red flag, we can pull in, put the bike on the stands. We've got access to tools and bits. But Matt is doing his usual and pacing in pit lane. And I have to admit, I might go and join him.
Stressful on the grid, stressful in here now watching. But I've got my faith in the boy. I'm sure he's going to do a good job. So,
yeah. We've just got just finishing the warm-up lap, and it is odd watching the race on TV when it's just out there. But we're not allowed to watch the start even on the pit wall. So here is the place. Right, good launch. It's quite a big grid here, so it's relatively spaced, and he's just stuck it in behind McConnell. So we've held position, I think. It's here.
Nice.
Yeah, up the inside of
Rollo, wasn't it?
Yeah, up this inside of Rollo.
Yeah. Oh, he's going inside somebody else.
Oh, he was across the curbs at Schwantz trying to get underneath somebody. He's had a bit of a quiet weekend, but now he is looking racy. Come on, Franco.
Great corner, that.
There is a lot of stress going on right now. Even though I can't do anything, feels like stress. We finished the first lap in 6th. Yeah. Cock. He's run on at first corner. I missed it. I was checking the sector time. He's run on at first corner, but he's rejoined. He's done a lot of riding through the gravel there. He's rejoined. We're 19th now. Right, 19th. Let's see if we can get recovery from there. If we can get some points, it'd be awesome. Hey, can't be easy every week. Right, that hasn't gone to plan because it's mid-race and he's pulled in. He's getting a load of false neutrals. Had one that made him run through the gravel, then had another one or two, and he said he nearly ran into somebody, and he said it was just getting dangerous because he's trying to pass people, and if it goes at the wrong time, he's going to run into people. So he did the right thing. He went faster than he went all weekend in the race. He was hanging with the group. Proof again, he can do it. But yeah, machinery issue this time. What you can see here is the white line is the engine RPM on a normal lap, the lap before we got a false neutral into the first corner, and you can see basically each gear change, you get a little spike in the RPM, and then it decreases, obviously, as he's slowing down. And that shows there, the white lines there are normal entry speed. The lap it went a bit wrong and it went into a false neutral, that's the engine RPM there, and it just keeps dropping. But when I checked another screen, the bike still thinks it's in second gear, but it's clearly not, because that's basically coasting. And actually the speed is actually, on the purple line, is actually going up in comparison to the lap before, because obviously the bike's not slowing down because it's got no engine brake at that point. And then as he dogs it back into gear there, and the bike still thinks it's in second gear through all of this, as it dogs it back into gear there, you just get this blip in rear wheel spins. It basically locks the back wheel up, and that's what makes the bike pitch, and then he can't slow it down enough, and you go straight on, and then you go through the gravel and have all this wiggly line here. So we've checked a couple of different places during the race, and it is definitely real. So basically it's just dropping out of second gear, but the gear selector obviously still thinks it's in second, so it is a mechanical issue within the engine. So we're going to take the engine out of it.
Nah, to be honest, nothing we could have done really. Just I hit 3 false neutrals. I was in the front group. I think I was in probably 5th position when it happened. So yeah, 5th position, came into red gate, hit the false neutral, sent it in the gravel, and I think it came out at about 18th. So then I caught the 2 guys in front, past Simon Reed, and hit another one into turn 1, and then hit another one into Foggy S's. So I just thought I'd pull in instead of me crashing and scraping my nice new leathers, or crashing into someone else and hurting someone else. So yeah, just pulled in. So yeah, that's a positive we can take. It just wasn't my fault, it was mechanic's fault. But no, we've all done a good job really. We have struggled a lot with my arms this weekend, and then to be at the sharp end again is good for my confidence, because I know I'll do the same at Knockhill, and we can actually get a win at Knockhill this time if you sort the bike out.
On it. And on that note, being as we're all here and all the spares and all the tools are here, we're going to do an engine change at circuit. So Matt can pot around doing some packing up. Me and Pete will do an engine change in the Honda, and at least then when we go to Knockhill, we know the bike is fresh and ready to go. So obviously that isn't the end of the weekend that we wanted, but we like to look at the positives, not the negatives. The bike will be sorted out and ready for Knockhill. Franco is, even though he's had a few issues with his arms, the physios did a real good job and sorted a lot of that out, and so in the race he was absolutely on form again, and that's really good for his confidence. So yeah, not a great weekend, but there are positives and we prefer to look at those. We learn from the negatives, we enjoy the positives. But that's it for Donington, and its next stop for us lot is TT. So we'll see you there. Thanks for watching.